If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. Rumors of wars, well now rumors of cyber wars. Obviously the predictive programming has been there forever with cyber wars, as well as power outages, the grids going down, alien deceptions, outbreaks, all the stuff that's going on at once. It's like a smorgasbord of false flags, all put into a giant basket and brought to you by the Central Intelligence Agency, aka your governments around the world, who all are using their secret or not so secret intelligence agencies to wage war on the civilians of the world. Well, now we have this. We have Anonymous, apparently a story. The group known as Anonymous is going after Russia, shutting down websites, going after their power sources, etc., etc. And of course, this means, well, this will give all the governments of the world an excuse to shut down grids. They could say that it's Anonymous doing it here, and then they could say it's an outlaw group in Russia doing it there. They could say it's the Russian government themselves doing it. Why not? Everybody's on board. Anyone could do it, but in reality, we know who would pull the plug on our own grid or who would wage cyber attacks against their own citizens, and that, of course, would be our own government themselves. Take a look.
The notorious hacking group Anonymous has declared war on Russia and is targeting Russian websites. The group that has also targeted U.S. sites in the past now says Putin's regime is fair game. Joining us now, NBC News correspondent Tom Costello. Tom, what more can you tell us?
Well, for years, the U.S. has accused the Russian government of cyber attacks, sometimes working alongside Russian cyber criminals. But now Russia is in the crosshairs. And before you celebrate, think about how quickly this could snowball into an all-out global cyber war.
This is a message to Vladimir Putin from Anonymous.
The group calls itself Anonymous. Unaffiliated hackers around the world now putting Russia in the crosshairs.
Members of Anonymous have declared cyber war against your aggressive regime.
They claim they've already targeted more than 1,500 Russian websites, including Kremlin-controlled news agencies, the Ministry of Defense and Space Agency, Russian oil companies, internet providers, even TV channels.
Their call to fight in the cyberspace has resulted in a lot of websites not being available, some websites going down, and a lot of records, Russian government, Russian military records being dumped out onto the internet.
U.S. officials confirm they've seen evidence of the Anonymous hacks after Russia launched a cyber and ground offensive against Ukraine.
But the real risk to Russia long term is the canceling of their access to internet infrastructure as private sector companies decide that they're going to delist or no longer carry their traffic.
Cutting off Russia from the world would also deprive everyday Russians of access to outside news and information. And cyber pros worry Russia may view the Anonymous hacks as Western attacks and target U.S. government and company sites. U.S. Cybersecurity Director Jen Easterly.
How at risk is the average American or that very small business owner?
Everybody's at risk, which is why at the end of the day, they need to take the steps to protect their systems, their networks, and their data. This can happen to anyone. There is no one that is immune from potentially getting hacked.
The cybersecurity basics: never click on suspicious emails or links. Use complicated passwords and multi-step authentication. Back up your computers and keep security software up to date.
This basically ensures that he can log in even when the password is changed.
Israeli firm Cyberbit uses real-world attacks to train American companies to defend themselves.
The questions organizations need to ask themselves is not if they are going to be hit, but when they are going to be hit.
As for Anonymous, now targeting Russia.
We are Anonymous. We are Legion. Expect us.
Russia has always been perceived as the cyber attacker, and now they're on the receiving end.
Instead of always being on offense, they also got to be on defense. And that really lowers their capability in some ways to also do attacks.
Yeah, that's the concern here. The cyber battlefield seems to be expanding by the day. You know, we've already seen U.S. oil pipelines, food supplies, hospitals, banks attacked in recent years. Experts say they could be targeted again, but also electric grids, dams, water systems. Everything is a potential target right now. By the way, the U.S. Cybersecurity Agency, if you're a small business or just a typical American family, they have great resources online how to protect yourself.
So, like I said earlier, the rumors of war, well, there's rumors of cyber war. So what does this mean? Well, this means it gives the government all the leeway they need, because remember, the government is who wants to do this to you. They want to do it to their own citizens around the world. We already have seen what they want to do to their own citizens. They just gave us a taste of it a few months ago, or should I say weeks ago if you're in Canada. Australia went through it. We've gone through it here in America, but not quite as bad as it's been in other countries, maybe because of the pushback of civilians who own bang-bangs. But nonetheless, it's our own governments who always want to do this to their own citizens. They push, they might get a little, they pull, they push, it goes back, it goes forth. But in the end of the day, they need someone to blame for things. Because if people realize it's their own government, well, that's going to be a problem because they're outnumbered. So it's always a boogeyman. That's what they have to create, boogeymen. Now, in this case, they're using Anonymous to be a front or an independent group who is going after Russia instead of saying that America's going after Russia, right? Well, this will obviously cause people to say, well, who's going to, a group has stepped up in Russia. A hacking group is going back after Americans now because, Anonymous is attacking Russians and back and forth, when really the CIA is just flipping a switch. And of course, will cause massive leaks of emails, bank account information, that type of stuff. At least that's what the stories will say. And of course, remember, all the stuff with cyber wars and cyber attacks are to get things implanted inside of your body to eventually get us onto 6G and to be completely unhackable. That's where they're going to try to get. So there'll always be wages and rumors of cyber type wars and bank account wars and security wars. Meanwhile, they want you to be afraid of, a security threat, when in reality, everything on the internet they have access to, from your bank accounts to you name it. People were in an uproar about the IRS wanting to be able to track people's bank accounts with, purchases over $600 or stuff like that. They already do. Okay, that would just give them a way to audit people without, it being illegal. They already watch and monitor everything that everyone's doing. They already have everyone's information because everybody has willingly submitted it to them, thanks to platforms like Facebook and other social media nightmares. People have just said, here's who I am, here's my social, here's my address, here's what I like, here's what I had for dinner last night, here's what I made in the toilet this morning, here, this is the color of my nails this week. And everybody just willingly submits it, of course, thinking that, well, the government would never want to do that stuff. Well, the government does, and they want to do it on a large scale. So this anonymous hacking is just more of what is to come with these types of rumors of waged cyber attacks. Eventually, when there is a huge cyber attack, obviously it'll shut off the grid and it'll take, it could drain people's bank accounts. These are all things that'll lead to what they want, which is obviously to build a new world order, which ties into the Great Reset, right? Which is already in place. So in a tweet, Anonymous said Russian space agency hacked via something, VOGC1 SEC. As you heard in that clip, probably a poor choice of words to say we are legion, not necessarily, anyway, we all know biblically what that means, but Russian Space Research Institute designs and builds scientific instruments for space experiments. So, hey, Russian, and then a homophobic slur. Sorry, cosmonauts, I don't know what to say. Go get a nice website instead of threatening people with ISS. Read a message on a section of the IKI-related site. According to Vice, the mention of the ISS is referring to recent comments from Russian authorities around the possibility of pulling out from operation of the International Space Station. Okay? Also, leave Ukraine alone, else Anonymous will F you up even more, the message added. IKI did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The hack against Roscosmos came after another anonymous link group made an unverified claim to have disabled Russian satellite control system. So obviously everybody knows Anonymous, the mask, that they use, which I think is from V from Vendetta. You can have whatever take you want on Anonymous. When the mainstream media is pumping and discussing things like this, It's obviously for a reason. They don't waste their airtime unless it's to completely mind control people into whatever they want. So even if something happened that was real and naturally occurring, like maybe some people believe happened in Canada or maybe didn't, depending on what take you have about, the Central Intelligence Agencies being behind these things, you can have whatever take you'd like, but when they start pumping it, they're pumping it to put their own spin on things. And the spin that they're putting on this is to be prepared for a cyber attack. That's the spin that they want on this, real or not real. So what you have to follow with these stories is what is the spin and why are they wasting the airtime? It's to prep you. That's why. They don't just go, this happened today, I'm going to put it on the news. And there'll be a lot of stories because a lot happens every day, right? They strategically pick stuff. That's why you'll hear bizarre stories, like even a story in Texas involving 3 people being taken off of a plane for not wearing their masks. Well, people get taken off the plane a lot. Stuff like that occurs all the time. I mean, it's not the most common thing in the world, but it probably happens every single day at an airport somewhere or on a plane somewhere that something happens. Well, why are they making stories like that and putting them on headlines and CNN while all this other stuff's going on in the world? Because they fall into a narrative. What's the narrative? The narrative is conform, follow orders, or that's what's going to happen to you if you don't wear your mask on a plane. Okay? Other stories even coming out about pilots getting breathalyzers and failing this week. There were stories. Why? Well, because the planes are going to be flying themselves. That's why. They don't want, and they already do for the most part, by the way, if you're not aware. This is just another way for them to say, hey, we don't need pilots. We could trust in science and technology over human beings. That's what they want to get to. They'll say, look, the pilots are showing up drunk and we need to do something about it, right? All stories have agendas behind them. That's the only reason that the news exists. It is to mold you, conform you, and push you where they want to push you. Yes, through fear, through other tactics. So this story here, no matter what your take is, it doesn't matter your take. It doesn't matter if you're like, yeah, let's go get Russia, or yay, I'm on Russia's side. It doesn't matter. What matters is what are they prepping you for? And they're prepping you for the cyber attack. They're prepping you for the grid, like I talked about earlier in the week, having 60 Minutes cover it, talking about how the grid is just sitting there waiting to be attacked. Same thing with the cyber attacks, right? But what is the end game of that? Well, it's not just to make you fearful and stuff. It's to eventually get something in you, to connect you with technology, and to tell you that you're unhackable. Meanwhile, you'll be completely hacked by the government. You won't be human anymore. But they'll tell you, wow, you don't have to worry about your bank account getting drained. You don't got to worry about this going down or that going down or anything in your life. Just get it inside you and then no more of this stuff. And you don't have to worry about waging cyber attacks and, and any of that, even though they'll be literally waging a war on your mind. Because like I said, you will no longer be human. So the story out there is that Anonymous is going after Russia. Russia's space agency, I mean, I don't know much more you need to know about the story when they're tying in their space station. Like, that's something that matters when it's just all fantasy land. Hey, take what you want out of it. But cyber attacks are going to be a main theme, like I said earlier, in what's going on with Russia, no matter what occurs with Ukraine or how long the push and pull occurs for the land coup that's going on out there, the coup to, to take over it, to pretty much submit it to them, which is what it is. This is going to lead, obviously, to threats, like I said earlier in the week again, about the grid, but also these major warnings of cyber attacks, which, again, would be conducted from within, from your own government. The NSA and all these people have been waiting and plotting to do this to their own civilians, just like they were waiting, plotting to do what they just did to all their civilians around the world. I thank you guys for being here. Reminder, check out the website at callforanuprising.com. I hope to see everybody over there. Hope you're doing well. Thanks again for the support, everyone. God bless you and your families.